guys? Welcome everyone to another episode of Horror and Coffee. It's a live stream. We're live, right? Is this thing on? Jay, is this thing on? How are you, Jay?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm good. I'm very good. Thank you. How's that lightsaber?
Oh, awesome.
From
It's right next to my, you can probably see it right in the corner there on my movie shelf.
Oh, I see it. It's sticking out a little bit there. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live here on Horror and Coffee. I thank all of you who are joining us, and who will be joining us, or who will watch this in the replay. Please, if you like this content that we're about to give here, just give me a like and subscribe. Consider it, please. Tap on that bell for future notifications for future Horror and Coffee content. And you can also look at the Horror and Coffee content that has been on this channel for quite a while now at this point. Interesting topic today. It's about the HBO series that just started a couple of weeks ago, The Last of Us. And I decided to do this, Jay, because damn, I got into this show.
Right.
It grabbed me. So
amazing series so far.
It's crazy. Like, we're only 3 episodes in, and I wanted to kind of like discuss those 3 episodes, because in the very beginning of a series, of any series, you got the pilot episode, and then you got the little episodes after that. You have to prepare yourself,
Mhm.
because sometimes it's those first few episodes that sets the tone for the rest of the season or series or whatever, right?
Right.
So a couple of housekeeping items. I've been doing some other things. I've been very busy with my life lately, but I'm still keeping up on the horror stuff. I've been doing a lot more article reviews. I said I wanted to change things up a bit. Not just reviewing movies, even though there is a movie I want to review that I saw last night. I watched Infinity Pool.
Oh,
Yo, yeah.
Is it pretty good?
Yeah, but it's complicated.
Oh.
That movie is not that the movie's complicated. It's more like I just didn't expect to see what I saw. That's all.
Is it a must watch then?
It's not going to be. Let me put it to you this way: it's not for everybody, I think.
Okay. Maybe it's not for me. We'll see.
It's good. It's just not for everybody. But I'm not gonna get into that now. I'll discuss it in my review.
Okay. I do have one question I want to ask you.
Sure.
Because all right, we have so many streaming platforms out there. We have like Netflix, Hulu, of course HBO Max, because that's what this is released on, and Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Do you like the format of watching it waiting for each episode to come out every week versus having the binge watching?
In a way, it keeps me level, because when you binge watch it, it's like opening up a box of Pringles, and you can't stop. Once you pop, you can't stop. You know what I'm saying? Like
I agree.
Like, and it's like, I gotta see the next episode. Hello, you got stuff to do. You gotta go food shopping. You gotta go. You gotta go make dinner for the kids. You gotta go to the bathroom. You gotta.
Yeah.
Come on, you got other things to do. I in a way, waiting for the next episode to be released weekly is good for me, in the sense, one, I grew up being used to that, because back in the day, that's how it used to be. Tune in next week when we hear stay tuned next week when our
leaves you with a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it leaves you on a cliffhanger, and they'd be like, tune in next week when you hear so and so say
right
stupid crap like that. So yeah, I found that to be a thing, about that. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be reviewing movies. There are movies I haven't seen. I haven't seen Megan. I intend on seeing it. It's just,
I haven't seen Megan either,
I
but I
don't
hear
want to. I
people
don't want
rave
to be
about
one of those people, those YouTubers that review movies, and I gotta run and go watch a movie
it. Hmm.
just so that I can review it. Life happens, So, but there's more to a horror channel, I like to think, than just reviewing movies, which is why
Right.
we're doing this right now.
Right.
Because this isn't about a movie. This is about the first 3 episodes of a potential TV series that, if it keeps going well, it may rival The Walking Dead
Yeah. It's
in
already
regards
got
to
a.
ratings.
It already got just. I think on Sunday, or I can't remember what date it is. It's already got approved. Got a season 2 announced. So they're doing the season 2 because I uh I played the first game, and and they have a sequel to the first game, and there's a second game coming. I haven't played the second game. Now, what happened with me is that I saw the trailer for this, and I'm like, wow, this is great. I thought that, and so I got to play the game before I watch the series. Which
Oh wait,
I'll
so
tell you,
this is not a game that you played like a long time ago.
no, no. The game came out in 2013,
Mm,
and it was released for PS3 platform.
okay.
And there are a lot of people that played it, and it got rave reviews. And what's amazing about the game is that it's a great storyline. It's character driven, and and it got a lot of awards from what I've read. I did my research on this, and I dived into this, and I thought it was a great game, and so I was happy that I played it. And actually, I got halfway through the game before I watched the first episode, but then I finished it before I got to the second episode.
Oh, okay.
So I know a lot about what's going on, and they do stick to much of the source material from the game, but there is some things that am I saying this right, derive from different stories, which we are going to hopefully talk about as we go from first episode all the way to the third episode. And hopefully we don't spoil too much for the people that uh, decide to play the game. But if we do, I apologize in advance.
Well,
But the game is phenomenal. I'll tell you that right much. I'll tell you that much right now.
let me tell you, I have to, this makes me think of a game that I did play years ago. That you see, it's one thing when you base a movie from a book.
Uh huh.
It's another thing when you base a movie from a graphic novel.
Right.
It's a completely different animal when you base a movie or a TV show from a video game.
Right.
That's where it gets a little dicey because, you know, you, when you like when all right, Resident Evil, right? When
Mm-hmm.
Resident Evil first came out, I was hooked. I was playing that game. I was like up until like 3 in the morning playing that joint, trying to find the clues or whatever to keep going into the next level. And when the movie came out, there was it was so different from the video game, and a lot of people didn't like it,
Oh yeah, yeah.
right?
Well, if you we'll talk about Geeks and Flex. They just recently reviewed all the movies, and they're not connected to the game at all. And
Right.
some, but they did throw a little bit of the zombies into it to like um for the fans. Oh, okay, that was part of the game, but it still didn't. But then they kind of threw some of the characters in there, like Jill Valentine, if I remember
It
correctly.
was almost
But
like a side thing. Yeah.
yeah, but
She
it
wasn't
didn't
the
really.
main thing. Alice was the
Right,
main thing.
right. But it didn't really play towards the gear of the game, and so and they try to do it with other movies, and they all, it was, people were like, okay, this is all right, but it doesn't work. I mean, there's other
It
games
doesn't.
like like Laura Croft with the Angela Jolie. That the first movie worked all right, and the second one didn't do so well. I mean, as far as the genre of movies to games, I think it's if done well, it could work. And so far, this is the best adaptation of a movie to game. I mean, it's not a
From a
movie; it's
game
a
to a movie or a TV
game
show.
TV show, and they're following it from from the. I mean, if you watch it, if you play the game, some of the dialogue and script is they're actually using the dialogue from and
Actual lines.
the actual lines. Some of the lines are actually being used in the TV series.
That
Um,
is pretty interesting. You see, I never played the game.
right,
That's one thing I want to let you all know. I'm walking into this blind. The same way I walked into The Walking Dead blind. Never read the graphic novels.
right,
Never read the comic. Just watched the TV show straight up.
right.
Okay. And I enjoyed the TV show for what it was. And for years, heard people complain, "Oh, that's not how it is the book." You know,
Oh yeah,
and
oh
people get
yeah.
upset.
You're going to get that. You're going to get
Yeah,
that.
and
And it's going to be the
it,
same thing with this as well.
exactly. And I was like, well, not everything is supposed to be as accurate as a book or a graphic novel or a video game, even.
Hmm.
Right?
Right.
It's
But go ahead. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off. Go
no,
ahead.
it's all right. Please, I want to hear your input because you played the game. Tell me your experience of the game.
Okay. We'll start off with the beginning of episode one. Um, episode one, you have Joel and Sarah and Joel's brother.
This is Sarah, his daughter.
Sarah, his daughter. All right.
You're thinking
Which
about the first episode of the show.
right,
Okay.
right. And
Oh, by the way, yeah. Hold on. Before we move on,
do we have
ladies
any
and
people in the
gentlemen,
chat?
Spoiler City.
Spoiler City. All right.
Spoiler City. So if you haven't watched the show yet, and you don't want anything spoiled, you're gonna need to click off and come back and watch the replay later. But
Right.
go
Okay.
ahead. All right, go ahead, Jay.
All right. So we got we actually we start off with Sarah waking up, and then and it's Joel's birthday, and so
Hmm.
that's actually what's happening in the game. The They go more in detail in the TV show. She goes, she makes him breakfast, and of course, we don't know exactly in the game how the um, epidemic happens.
Right.
They don't really tell us because in the TV show that they do it,
In the
they
TV show,
just
you know what I liked about the TV show? That's the first thing you see. A talk show from in 1968. These
oh
doctors
yeah,
on
the
a
cold
panel,
opening. I
right?
forgot. Let's go back to that. The cold opening.
Yeah,
They
and the
don't do that in the
doctors are
game.
there explaining, well, this
The
pandemic,
fungus, man.
one day. And what if it is a fungi, a cordyceps, say? I
I
was
forgot
like,
about the cold opening. Thanks for
yeah,
bringing that
and
up.
I was like tuned in, dude. I was like this. I was like, wait a minute. I never thought of it like that before. We've always been accustomed to seeing shows and movies about pandemics or end of the world apocalyptic scenarios regarding a
Right,
virus, something
right,
microbial, bacterial, viral, not fungal. This was
right.
different.
Yeah, it was a fungal versus a virus, like a cough or a cold.
Yeah,
How shit spreads that way. But
exactly.
and 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 so yeah, they first do that, and then after the credits roll. And what's nice about that, the credits roll, that's exactly how the credits roll in the
Yeah.
game. But it's different. She
But
wanders around, and then she makes breakfast, and then you notice how okay, so I probably try not to go too deep into this. You notice how they don't have pancakes, and they just have eggs and
yeah.
bacon.
Oh my god, I didn't think of that.
Right.
The connect. Oh snap.
And
You
then they cut to the before they leave on their her going to school. they show the grandmother eating biscuits and everything, and they have a hard pass on the biscuits and stuff like that. And so there's
Yo.
another clue right there. And
Another
so
clue right there. I didn't even make that connection, Jay.
right. And so um and so then but before you see her going into roughly into her father's drawer before all that happens and getting the money to fix the watch. And so then she goes into town after
Yeah.
school to get the watch fixed. But I mean, if
Things
you
are
can,
already happening.
yeah, but things are already happening. You see all the chaos happening, and but
Yeah.
see, none of that is happening in the game. All you see is that she goes. Uh, what happens in the game? I guess we don't really need to discuss the game because
You know why?
all over the place.
Here's the thing. The game. You already pretty much said everything you could about the game, right?
Right.
When we're talking about the first episode of The Last of Us, we're talking.
Mhm.
We're seeing a scenario here.
Right.
And this is the thing that always fascinates me the most. I enjoy watching shows like this of an apocalyptic scenario of how
Mhm.
life was right before things started falling apart.
Right.
Because you start hearing it. The news is reporting some weird stuff. You hear
Right.
an ambulance or a truck, military planes flying overhead. What's that about?
Right. Oh yeah.
That all of that lends to the dread. It's like you get
Right.
this sense of dread because you know what's coming, right?
Right. And all right, so she goes over to the next door neighbor's house after school after getting the watch fixed. The watch is a part of the key factor of the game, of the storyline as well. But we can come back to that.
Yeah.
When she's looking at all those movies on the shelf, you see the grandma, that old lady sitting in the chair, and she's doing that.
Yeah. She starts and the backdrop, it's blurry, but you could still make out that she's going through something.
Right. And that dog.
Look, just like this blurred out right now, like the way I'm blurred out right now. Whatever.
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, this stuff is about to go down now. Even though you already knew the chaos was going on. And then she after she gets the cookies and the movie, she goes back home and
and then
they watch the movie.
Still normal. Things are still normal.
They're chilling. She's chilling with her dad. She gives her dad the watch, gives the watch to Joel.
Yeah.
And then we all know what's going on from there on.
Yeah. Because what's crazy about the first episode is that it really sets the tone. It jumps.
Right.
There's a time jump.
Right.
20 years later.
Right. But what's nice about that whole block right there, and here's what I learned. I was reading stories about this. This is a 9-season series.
Mm-hmm.
It originally was supposed to be 10.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what happens here. When all right, so Joe picks up his brother and they come back. It's like, oh crap, and then all that chaos happens, and Joe and his brother. Oh God, what is his brother's name again?
I forgot.
I got it right here. Hold on a sec.
I know
right away they go into survivor mode. They know what they're doing. They're vets.
Yeah.
And that's like, oh, let's go east, let's go west, and you're getting it from Sarah's point of view.
Yeah.
And that's how you see it in the game. But then when they get and then they get in that accident and
then the soldier
shoots, and that's boom. That was in the game. It happens real quick. It happens real quick in the game, but this happens in a span of like an hour in the TV show.
But what's interesting, well, the first episode, to be honest with you, was a little longer than an hour.
Right. It was exactly like 81 minutes. So
yeah, it was
basically
long.
Basically what it was supposed to be, it was supposed to end right there, and then it was going to be a continuation of next week.
Yeah.
But they felt that it would have left people kind of like come on, really? And they thought, you know what, it would be better if they just continue with it
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
And
I
so
totally understand.
so
I
yeah, so
understand why they
that's
would do that.
right. So that's why I thought it was great that they did this. And so, and then when you go 20 years later, oh man, that little boy coming into town and that lady nurturing him.
Yeah. Mm. So, the idea. Here's the thing about the first episode. I liked it, but I wasn't yet convinced until the second episode,
Right.
and I'll tell you why. The beginning of that one, the doctor, the scientist lady.
Oh, the professor doctor?
Yes,
And
when
she's
they
looking
went
through
to,
there
oh
and
my god, because it goes
oh,
back to the beginning of the pandemic,
right,
and they identify where it started in some
right,
kind of grain and flour factory or whatever,
right,
right? And then
right,
so they never found the person who bit the lady, and that they had 14 workers missing. So you could tell already they were
right,
out there somewhere, whatever,
right,
being fungi people. Oh
right.
my god.
Yes.
No, but
Yeah,
here's the thing. What she said. She said they were like, "Well, what are we gonna do?" And she was like, "There's no vaccine for this. I want you to understand that. I've been studying this for years. There's no vaccine. There's no medicine. There's no nothing." And he was like, "Then what do we do? We bomb everything." I was like, "What?"
well, that really sent a chill up my spine when she said
I
that.
loved
And
it.
I was
It
like,
was it really set the tone for the rest of that episode, man.
yes, it did. And it-
What?
it's like I said, what I was going to say is that um it just you sit there and think it's like how if you were sitting there in that room and you were told that
I would have been
you're
like,
going to
no, I'm not bombing. What
I
are you
mean, well,
crazy?
but I mean, it's like what she said is, "Can I go home?" And I just want to go home
I
and be
want to
with
be
my
with my
family.
family. Like she included
Yeah,
herself to be bombed.
right. And I mean, it was a selfless act in her perspective because she knows that there was nothing else to do.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and then and then it rolls the credits, and then
What?
it's
So
just like I was like,
it's different. It's different.
it's like I mean, again, you had these cold openings, and I was like, oh man,
Now
um,
let's talk about the three primary actors in these.
right. You have Ellie,
You have Ellie, who's
Joel,
played by Bella Ramsey.
Bella
You
Ramsey
have
from
you
Game of
have
Thrones,
from Game of Thrones. You have Joel, who is played by Pedro Pascal, also from Game of Thrones
and
for a
now in The
little bit,
Mandalorian,
and now The Mandalorian. And you have Anna Torv, who played Tess.
and Anna
And
Torv was from The Fringe.
Fringe. Fringe.
Love that
Yeah.
show.
That show I loved that show. Every time Fringe came on, I was like, oh, I got to see Fringe.
Uh-huh.
And that was the time before the streaming happened.
Right.
You had to tune in or you DVR'd it.
Oh yeah. I
Okay.
tuned in. I tuned in.
I tuned in.
I didn't have a DVR then. Um, but yeah, they all played those characters well. They played them
They
well.
really did. They
And then
now if I read somewhere or heard somewhere that in the video game Tess sticks around longer. She doesn't die as fast as she did at the end of the second episode, right?
well, in a sense,
Mhm.
there is in the game, of course, go through you have to go through a journey of the city to get to where
Yeah,
they were
but in the
going.
game you gotta like unlock these things and get this
Yeah,
key and get this money and
exactly.
get this block of whatever,
And you gotta
You can't
fight the
do that in
creatures.
the in the show. You can't do that.
You gotta fight the creatures. All right. So in the game, all right, in the game they do get to into the dome, but they don't. They in the game they fight the Fedra. But and in the TV show, they're fighting the the zombies, and I think the reason why they switched it to that because they said it didn't make sense to have the Fedra chase them, and it actually made more sense to have the zombies fight instead of the Fedra
Well, they're not
because,
zombies.
well, yeah,
As a
that's
matter
one
of
thing
fact,
I don't know if you could compare it to zombies or
you can't. They're a
yeah,
completely different thing, which is why this was very unique. My
right,
daughter, my daughter was like, "I did some research, Dad. These are what these things. They come in stages. It's the
right.
fire.
There's
eh, There are clickers.
mhm,
There are stalkers. There are bloaters,
and there's runners.
and there's runners. Runners is the first stage, I think. Am I right?
Stalkers are the first stage.
Stalkers are the first stage. That's when
Runners are
they're
the second
kind of
stage.
growing out of you. You can still. Here's the part that when she told me this freaked me out. Runners or stalkers are still alive.
Right.
They not only are still alive, they're they're still conscious
Mhm.
of what's happening to them, but they
Right.
can't control it because the fungus has control over them. So
Right.
they're biting other people and infecting other people, but they don't want to do it, but they're doing it because the fungus is making them do it.
Right.
That's
And
insane.
then comes the runners, and they when they hear you, they come right at
Well, the clickers are the clickers are the
blind.
they're the creepiest ones because they look like mushroom people because the fungus kind of grows out of their heads and
Right.
they can't see
Right.
because it grows out of their skulls, but they can hear and their sense of hearing has become more strong. So
Right. They're kind of
so
like a sonic bat,
yeah,
like
yeah, exactly. Like and they do that clicking sound. That's why they're called clicker.
right.
You know, and they move
But
around cool, like it's a Michael Jackson video or whatever.
yeah,
You
you
know,
kind of
like
threw out a spoiler there because the bloaters don't show up until later in the series.
that's all right.
Yeah. But anyway, there's one thing I was going to mention. We're going to at the end of episode 1. Did you notice how um was it was Emily, right? How she was sitting there just watching Joe beat the crap out of that guard, and she was enjoying it.
Did you're talking about Ellie?
Ellie, yeah, Ellie, yeah.
She was enjoying Joa. I
She was
did.
not really enjoying. I mean, she just kind of had that grin on her face. It was when it was
I don't
kind of
know.
like it was kind of a satisfaction that she was getting out of it because she couldn't look away.
Well, maybe she never saw anything like that happen before.
Yeah.
You know,
And
Ellie is a very complex character. She never
very,
knew a
very
world outside of the world that they were in.
correct.
You know what I'm saying? She's 14, so she grew up in the midst of this. She
Right.
gets bit. She doesn't get. She doesn't get sick. They were gonna
Right.
kill. So they watch her to see if, and they realize no. So that's the
She
mission. The mission is for Joelle and Tess to take Ellie to this
to the
lab place,
fireflies.
to
The
the
fireflies.
Fireflies. And I'm not familiar. Who are the Fireflies exactly, Jay? I'm not familiar with them.
Their okay, their idea is to restore the Constitution, basically. And they're kind of like a rebel group.
Yeah,
And
but are they scientists?
no, no, they're
So
just a
then what can Ellie
rebellious group.
possibly do?
Right. Because basically the Fedra are martial law, and they are basically, if there are anybody that goes outside the city, because it's basically anybody that goes outside the city, sneaks outside, are you saw how they were executing people that would leave the city.
Yes,
They capture them.
I did see that.
So basically, the Fireflies are wanting to restore law and order. How do you say it? The Constitution, and that's based. It's a little bit more detail to that, but
All right. So, but that's not even the point. Don't worry about.
and so Ellie is basically she got bit, and they believe that she's the cure for the
That she's the key to probably undoing this and finally putting an end to this apocalypse that's lasted for like over 20 years.
right, exactly.
It's a very
Um,
compelling story.
right, and so that's what and so you see, and you can see how about okay, both Joel and Tess are kind of birds of the same feather, as you can see.
Well,
They're
they were
both
close.
they were close, but Joel does not want to kind of admit that. You can see. I mean, he doesn't want to say it because even as much as Ellie asked Joel, Joel's like pass, pass,
Well, yeah,
but
he's very guarded.
very guarded, and he's doesn't want to do this mission. He's very reluctant to do this mission,
Yeah.
as you can see. Um, Once Tess gets bitten, she becomes more. When they get closer to the dome, after she gets bitten, they're getting ready to cross that over
Hmm.
to the other side. After they get, and she's like, Tess more. It becomes more believe in this mission, she's hey
Hi,
Lenora.
Lenore.
She becomes more believing in this mission, and she's like, let's get this done. But she knows that she's not going to be able to make it, so
She sacrifices her life basically to
basically right,
so that they could get away. And then, I liked the way the second episode ended because it left you with this. Okay, now we know why when you see the video game, you just see those two.
right,
She dies
right,
early on, apparently. You know,
right,
and and there's obviously a sense of sacrifice, of
right,
course, and this goes with any TV show or movie that's dramatic. What I like about this show so far, especially, is that it really one of the things that made me enjoy The Walking Dead was not so much the zombies, of course, that was the whole point, right? But
right.
it was also the sense of the human element, the human drama
I agree with
that
that.
was in play. What was going on with Rick and Shane, and then Shane and Laurie and Rick, and everything. Like everybody was about something with somebody,
Hmm.
right? And I feel the same kind of thing happening in this series, and it's only three
Right,
episodes in.
right.
It's only three
What?
episodes in.
Right. What? I'll tell you this much. All right. That's how I agree with you on this. And the people, you get to the like the when like the first episode you're watching, and you got to spend this short time with Sarah,
Hmm.
and you got this connection with her, and then we lose her.
Yeah,
It was just for a short minute, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
and you're like, oh, and then we had to move on, and now we have this relationship with Joel, Ellie, and Tess, and then we lose Tess.
Yeah.
But then we come to episode 3, excuse me, and it was so good to see Tess back, but it was in a flashback.
Well, it was a flashback, and but I'm gonna be, let me tell you something. This past episode, the episode 3,
Yes,
that was a deep episode, yo.
it was a very deep episode.
I was like,
That
at first, to be honest with you, at first I was like, were were Frank and Bill? Was it clear that they were like a couple in the video game?
I'll tell you this much. Okay, in the video game, Bill is a major character in the storyline because what happens is in the video game, they're not looking for they're not going for a battery and ammo. They're just going for ammo alone. The Marlene tells them that if you deliver Ellie, we'll give you all the ammo you need. And so that's what that was about. And
Oh, okay.
so after the whole situation that happens at the dome, they say get we're going to go find Bill.
Hmm.
It's no Bill or Larry, Bill or Frank.
Okay.
And Ellie goes, who's Bill? He goes, he owes me a favor. So
Okay.
they go through Bill and through the you go through the mission and you're hitting all Bill's traps and you actually get to meet Bill.
I
And
loved how Bill set up the whole perimeter of the house with that.
I love Bill.
Yeah, when those
I
guys try to raid the house.
didn't it seem like he was waiting for that day to come?
Yeah, he was no joke. You know what's
I think
funny
he was
about
so
him?
excited. He was
When
so
we
excited when it happened.
when we're first introduced to Bill in episode 3, you could tell he was one of those conspiracy theorist kind of guys that was
Oh
like the
yeah.
government is watching you and all this is so we have to prepare for this terrible thing that's going to happen. So I'm going to have my bunker, I'm going to have my guns, I'm going to have my surveillance, I'm going to have my this and then when it finally happened,
He went looting,
he went
which
looting. He had a free shopping spree throughout
yeah,
town.
I mean, which it had no consequences
Like
because there's nobody.
episode 3 and of The Last of Us was brought to you by Home Depot
Yeah, and Arby's.
and Arby's and Arby's, you know, because
But yeah,
he meets Frank. Frank falls into a hole. He meets
right.
Frank and he doesn't trust him, obviously, understandably. And this is 4 years in or 3 years in after
Three.
the outbreak,
Well, yeah. First it
right?
starts off with the outbreak because actually what happens is right. You see that yeah. You
Exactly.
see, yeah, yeah. What happens is that in the game when they do meet Bill, they do talk. They do mention Frank. He
Yeah.
asks who's Frank, and Bill says he was my partner, and and it hints that Bill had a relationship with Frank. So that's pretty much it. So if anybody has their little blah blah blah, you know what I'm going at with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so it was part of the game. So get over it. So I had no problem with it. I thought it was an amazing, beautiful story.
You know what? I have to admit, in the beginning, I was kind of like, "Oh, it's like I want a story to be a good story. I do not want the execution of that story compromised just to make a statement."
I don't think it was making a statement.
And it didn't. It didn't make a statement. That's why I thought it worked because because okay, um, I've seen other shows where it gets a little fuzzy. The execution of the plot gets fuzzy because all of a
Did you-
sudden it becomes about that, or something. But that's I don't want to get into that. The point I'm trying to say
Right,
is that this third episode, moved me. I
right.
was like, these two guys connected and said, "You had a box of tissues?
Oh yeah.
You had a big box of tissues."
I was like, yeah.
You
It
know,
was.
it's
I mean,
you. Oh, Frank and Bill.
it,
Oh.
let me put it this way. I agree with what you're saying. I don't think it was about death, but I think it was a celebration of life.
It really was because they first of all they celebrated each other's lives,
Right.
and you see their relationship develop over the course of when the first time Frank shows up there, all the way
Hmm.
to their last day.
Right.
The wine,
The food
the food,
and
right?
the strawberries.
And the strawberries. Remember the strawberries? That was
Yes.
they hadn't had strawberries in forever. So it was
And
it was
you want to
very
know what I was thinking?
real. It was a real organic. It was real. It
Oh,
was
you're taking every word out of my mouth that you're saying. You're
yeah,
saying
yeah. It
everything that
was
I was thinking.
real. It was like real world scenario. It was about a relationship. It was about something that was so normal in contrast to the world that had fallen apart around them.
Right.
It was their
And,
comfort area, but it was more than just comfort. It was
and
reality.
And another thing I could say is sometimes I was feeling a little bit envy of the relationship, because who wouldn't want to have that kind? And I'm not talking about, I'm a heterosexual person,
Okay, I know what you mean. Whether whether you're gay or not, you want to
you
be with somebody, and you
that
want to
has that kind of great
have that
relationship
connection with, right? That
and
and that's
enjoy life so much. I mean,
and,
even if
and
you're polar opposites of each other.
exactly. Well, yeah, like it's that whole, and you see that dynamic play out in this episode. And this episode was a little long. It was like an hour and 15 minutes,
It was hour 15 minutes.
and I loved how the way it got wrapped up when Joel and Ellie showed up to the house.
Hmm.
Obviously, he left. Bill left a note with
Hmm.
details, and they got the battery. They had to charge the battery.
Right.
Ellie
Well, he had
found
to
it.
build it. He built the battery, then charged it.
Right, he
But yeah.
built the battery, then charged it. That's right. Correct me. Um, it's a very it was a very moving episode
Hmm.
that I think will have a long term effect on the rest of the shows of this season,
I
because
agree. I agree.
now with all the stuff that Joe has now with the all the guns, Ellie was like, "Ah, come on, man, I want a gun." you know
She found one,
she found one. Shh, don't
which
tell
actually
Joe,
happens,
don't tell Joe, don't tell
which
Joe.
actually happens in the game.
Actually happens in the game. Get the gun, sure. Bloop. Do you play? You can play either Joe or Ellie in the game.
No, what
Oh,
happens is you do switch to Ellie eventually in the game.
okay.
Uh, here's one thing that I was going to say before we get to Joel, before we get to Bill and Frank. You notice how Ellie ventures off on her own, and she finds her necessities.
And then she finds a stalker. That was a stalker buried
Yeah,
under. Yeah.
yeah, and she stabs him, and she just,
But
it's
you
like,
saw the
Ellie.
stalker knew who he was. He nodded to her like, "Yeah, finish me off, kill me."
Yeah, yeah, and she's like, it's like you're finding out all these things about Ellie, and then and what I like about Bella Ramsey's acting is she is playing this great teenager, and you and I are both parents, and I have a teenager, I have two teenagers, and they're no different than what Ellie is in a certain sense,
Yeah.
except because they always asking questions
Hmm.
and they always have that smart ass remarks sometimes, and
Yeah.
but and she's playing it perfect, and
Yeah.
but the thing that I really liked, her best dialogue that she told Joel, it's like, it's no one asked you to do this. I mean, no one's forcing you to do this, and no one's putting this on you. Basically, she's telling, and
Right. 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 It's
because
true.
she doesn't want to put that burden, and I think there is a little guilt that she has about what happened to Tess.
And Lenore says she's in awe of everything. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. You saw how she acted when she got in the truck?
Hmm.
She never been in a truck before.
Right.
Or a car or something. Much less a car,
Right.
I think. I was like, you never really been in a car? She
And you know
she
what?
didn't know
The
how to put on a
production set,
seatbelt.
the scenery and everything, every episode, the production set
Yeah,
is amazing.
it is. you know, they were very meticulous in detail regarding the set, regarding the scenery, regarding all the stuff in the house, Bill's house.
Oh yeah.
The Linda Ronstadt song.
Oh,
You saw that
and the,
connection, right? In the beginning
yeah.
of the show, when
Mhm.
Frank was playing the Linda Ronstadt song on the
Oh, there's
piano.
another connection I can mention too. Um, Frank is the one that was sending those radio messages to.
Right.
Yeah, finding the cassette. I like that. Um, Frank was one that was sending those radio messages when we
Yeah,
saw
he
that
was the
first
one that sent
episode.
that Depeche Mode song.
Yes, yes. All those little things that you're picking up, man. That's
Oh, Lenore, you like Linda Ronstadt? Great
I
song,
love
one of my
Linda Ronstadt.
faves. She likes Linda Ronstadt.
I like one of my favorite songs by her is "You're No Good, You're No Good."
You're no good, you're no good, you know that's Linda Ronstadt?
Yes,
Okay.
but yeah, everything about the show so far, they're doing it right, and they're getting everything right. Um, I think this is probably one of the second best shows that they got on HBO right now. But for
Next
me,
to House of the Dragon, right?
I think I would pick this over the House of Dragons for me right now.
I'm not ready for that yet. House of the Dragon is freaking good, yo.
Well, the only I'll tell you two things I had and I already told someone else about this. Two problems I had with the House of Dragon. Sometimes there were scenes that were too dark that you couldn't see in the scenes.
You have to turn off all the lights in the house.
Yeah, and the time jump. Too many
a lot of
jumps.
time jumps. A lot of time jumps.
A lot of time jumps, and I guess we'll have to wait to see what happens the next season. And it looks like we might have to be waiting for a while. But
What do you mean?
I don't know when the second season's going to come out for House of Dragons. They haven't told us.
It should come out the same time it came out this past year.
Let's hope so.
Late summer or something.
Yeah, but this one's doing it for me. I've read a lot of. I've read a lot of. I mean, I've played the game. I've done my research. You got Craig. I can't pronounce his last name. Mackin, I believe, that did Chernobyl.
Yes.
And Neil Druckmann as the showrunners, the guy that actually created the game. So
right. Well, obviously they're all collaborating to make this, you know.
So I mean,
it's working.
The dialogue, the storyline, the actors, all the actors.
Here's the thing that keeps me up at night about this show, Jay. The fact that this fungus, it does exist in real life, and it does do something kind of like what it's doing to humans in this show. It just
zombie
doesn't.
Ants.
It just doesn't do it. Cordyceps.
Have you Googled the zombie ants?
I have. I've actually, and I have a picture. Let me show everybody. I'm going to show people a picture of.
Let me go over to that.
Of this here. This here was is an ant that was attacked and infected with the cordyceps fungus.
Right.
And it's actually being anchored to the ground there, or to a tree or a side of something, where it will eventually die and the fungus will grow out of it.
And it will control the air.
It will control. Well, no, the ant. Here's the thing, and this is where it splits off into fiction. You know, when I did my research on this, the ant doesn't continue to keep going. It does initially. Like the fungus does something to an insect, not just ants, but other insects, where it leads them to a place where they can, I guess, pollinate more.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, more breeding grounds, basically. So that ant wasn't that, you know, it kind of like had it go away from its, you know, ant colony and then go somewhere to do this, where it would finally anchor itself in, die, and allow it to grow, the fungus grow, and then release spores to make more fungus to infect more ants.
Yeah, I think I watched like maybe 2 or 3 different short documentaries on it.
Yeah,
and
like
you're
so this
spot
thing
on.
is real. It's not like The Walking Dead where it's really not real. Like, how does that happen? How does that happen? You know, you could do a whole show on the zombie apocalypse of the Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, The Walking Dead. Everybody's dead. I'm dead, dead, dead. Whatever, and you'll never come up with a real solid explanation as to the cause of the outbreak. It's a
This one
virus.
does.
This one does. This is very direct, and it's not. And it's a fungus. It's a fungus from the
And it,
plant world or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but I was like so fascinated when I found this out, and I looked into it, and I was like, "Yo, this thing is real. This thing is
yeah,
real." Look at that
they
ant.
say they say it's impossible for it to happen, but is it really? You sit there and
Well,
think.
the doctor said this in the first episode. He said, "What if the climate were to change? What if the Earth was to get warmer?" Which was obvious not to climate change. Come on, that's what
Right,
they were going at. That's where the direction they were going at.
right.
Climate change. Okay,
Oh,
what?
I was going to say there was one change that they did make.
What?
Um, in the game, they would wear masks because there were spores floating around, but they
Oh,
changed it. Remember when they were going to the dome
yeah.
that it was a network. That's an
Right.
actual real thing that
Okay, that's
happened.
that's a show thing.
Right.
Like
They
if you
really
step on a thing, it will alert the other creatures that are nearby, and it will have them go right to you.
right. And that's actually a thing that happens in the forest. It's a real thing. I
Like with the
searched that.
insects.
No, with the fungus spores. It's an actual thing that happens
It's
in
like
the
a network.
yeah, it's a network in the forest. It's a real damn thing. And I'm like, damn.
You
So
know what that
they actually
reminds me of? Funny enough, eerily, Avatar, right?
the
Avatar, the trees,
oh yeah, the tree of life.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, right.
it does.
It does,
You know
except
what? You're right. Now that I think about it, you're right.
yeah, that's something to think about. I'm like, you know what? Okay. I kind of like the way they treat this better because in the area of this outbreak, it's so much more like again, there's a note of realism to it that
There
is
is. There absolutely
there
is.
really is. Um, all right, we're gonna close this off now. This has been an interesting discussion. I wanted to kind of like use this show more as a reflection
Right.
of what I've been thinking about. In summary, if I was to summarize this, I would have to say that these first 3 episodes were deep, they were creepy, and they were very realistic. And it's in the way it was executed to the point of
Right.
I am so looking forward to seeing what happens next when the series ends. Not series when the season ends. I'm gonna do another live stream, and I'll get you back on here, Jay. Maybe we could get some other people on here too.
Yes, I hope we
That
could get more of an audience.
hey, Robert's here.
Robert.
Robert makes
Hey,
the
Robert.
cut.
Hey, what was your favorite episode so far?
Mine, me.
Yes.
The second one.
Second one?
Yeah, especially the
I like
beginning with the doctor.
yeah,
Yeah.
I I've watched all 3 episodes more than once. The first one I really liked because it set the tone for everything. But then I come back and I think the second one was better than but
Yeah, the second one. That's what I'm saying.
yeah. But the third one, it's more emotionally driven than
Well, the third episode was definitely emotionally driven. The part of the first episode was definitely emotionally driven too because of Sarah and everything. But now with what's coming, The mission is to get to this place in Wyoming.
Yeah, they're going to go find his brother.
That's
Now
going to
that
be
they
a
got the
long
vehicle.
trip.
Mhm.
So they're going to go through a lot of stuff on the way. You know it's happening. You know it's coming.
Right.
So get ready for that, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't seen The Last of Us, I recommend it strongly. Watch this show. It's on HBO Max. They always spit out a new episode every Sunday at 9 o'clock. Check it out. It's an amazing series. I'm very excited about it. I look forward to my Sundays again. You know,
Right.
they timed this well because the last episode of The Walking Dead of the final season ended not too long ago, and they're like, "Oh yeah, just wait for that to end."
How many spin-offs do they have for that now?
Wow, of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Oh God, now you got the Daryl one that's coming out. You got the Negan and Maggie show. You know, when they
Really?
come to New York, I'm still looking forward to that one. And you still have Fear the Walking Dead, which, by the way, announced its final season as well.
And are they still doing something with Michonne and
Yes, and that too. Oh my God, I forgot. Yeah,
wow.
that one's coming out too. So get ready. So it's still going on. There's still some Walking Dead stuff going on. Just the main flagship show is over. That's all.
Oh,
That's all.
I don't know. I kind of lost my focus with it after the Whispers. It just because it was
Not me. I had to see it through all the way to the end. I said I got to see this through to
you're
the
committed.
end because yo, it's I've been watching this since 2010. I'm not gonna stop now, and I didn't. I watched it all the way to the end.
Robert, you need to watch it. I think you will really enjoy it because it's.
Oh, Robert, you'll like it. Just when you get a chance, Robert, watch it. Watch the first few episodes. Watch the first 3 episodes, and then watch episode 4 this Sunday. You know,
the pacing's great.
The pacing is great. All right,
and
so
the great game,
great series. I haven't played the game. I'm going by what Jay is saying. Great game. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Robert for coming. I want to thank Marty. We're closing off. We're ending the show now. But she's already talking. When they had the little girl who befriended the zombie. What little girl who befriended?
Oh, she's talking about Ellie. When Ellie went down into the dugout there in the basement.
I don't know if befriended is the right word to use. She stabbed it in the head.
Yeah.
Friends don't do that.
I maybe she gave the zombie, the monster or the creature a mercy killing.
We'll say. Yeah. He knew it. But my goodness, now people are showing up. Thank you at the end. And now that we reached the end. This was ladies and gentlemen, this was a discussion about the first 3 episodes of The Last of Us on HBO Max. Go check it out if you haven't seen that those episodes yet.
Who was shot in the head?
Huh?
She said someone who was shot in the head. What episode are you referring to?
Yeah. Are you talking about the video game or the show, Marty? Like, I'm not sure. Let's see if she types it in.
Oh, are you talking about
the little girl? Boy? She says she was the one that was shot in the head. I don't know what she's talking about. She's talking about Ellie? Or is there another little girl? She's talking about the show.
Okay, let's see.
Was there another little girl that I didn't see?
Which episode? First, second, or third? See if I can refresh my memory.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know.
Oh, you're talking about The Walking Dead when you're saying that.
I thought we were.
I thought we were. You had me confused.
Yeah, because we're talking about the The Last of Us. So I thought you were talking about that.
Look at
She's
the
talking about
flowers.
that show on season 5, the latter
5.
part of season 5. That's when that happened. I know what she's talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that crazy.
You threw us off.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It happens. It happens. But ladies and
Good.
gentlemen, so thank you, Mari, for coming in towards the end. Robert, you too, Lenore, thank you very much. And thank you, Jay, for joining me in this discussion
That was
on
fun.
The
It was a
Last of Us.
pleasure.
It was a simple talk, nothing crazy here, but those of you who watch the replay, please comment below, talk to me, share with me your thoughts on this brand new series that has come to HBO that might potentially become another great series that will be remembered for years to come. Let's see how this works out. This is Ralph Perez from Horror and Coffee. Don't forget to drink your coffee. That's Jay. And I'll see you guys next time. Stay tuned for my review of
One thing like that.
Infinity Pool.
One thing like that. One thing from this episode, that's last episode, what gives me thoughts is don't take life for granted.
Oh, this past step, don't take life for granted. Cherish every moment. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you never know. Okay. Take care, guys. God bless. Later.
Later.